ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ.
Yes.
ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗಣೇಶಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಶುಭೋದಯ, ಶುಭ ಮುಂಜಾನೆ ಬೃಂದಾವನ ಬಂಧು ಬಾಂಧವರೆಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಾನು ಬೃಂದಾವನ ಅಪೂರ್ವ ತಂಡದಿಂದ ಅರ್ಚನಾಚಾರ್ಯ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಬೃಂದಾವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಹಿಳಾ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಆಚರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಾರ್ಚ್ 8ಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಗದಿತವಾಗಿದ್ದರು ನಾವು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನವೂ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸಾಧಕರನ್ನು ಆಚರಿಸಬಹುದು ಎಂಬುದಂತೂ ನಿಜ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸಾಧಕಿಯರು ಕೇವಲ ಒಂದು ದಿನದ ಕೆಲಸದಿಂದ ಪರಿಚಿತರಲ್ಲ. 24 ಗಂಟೆ 7 ದಿನ 365 ದಿನಗಳು, ಅದು ಈ ವರ್ಷ 366 ದಿನಗಳು ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಗುರಿಯತ್ತ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತೊಡಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂತಹ ವಿಶೇಷ ಸಾಧಕಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂದಿನ ಆಹ್ವಾನಿತ ಅತಿಥಿ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಸುನೀತಾ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ್. ಶತಶತಮಾನಗಳಿಂದ ಕವಿಗಳು ಸ್ತ್ರೀಯರನ್ನು ಕೋಮಲವಾದ ಹೂವಿಗೆ ಹೋಲಿಸಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅರಳುವ ಹೂಗಳು ಹೂದೋಟದ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲೆಡೆ ಸುಗಂಧವನ್ನು ಪಸರಿಸುವ ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ನಡುವೆ ಅರಳುವ ಸ್ತ್ರೀಯು ಸಮಾಜ ಎನ್ನುವ ಹೂದೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನ ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ, ಸಾಧನೆ, ಸಹನೆ ಕೇವಲ ತನ್ನ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರವಲ್ಲದೆ ಇಡೀ ದೇಶದ ಕೀರ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಸಿ ಪಸರಿಸಲು ತನ್ನದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರಮಿಸುತ್ತಾಳೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಯಿಯಿಂದ ಮೊಗ್ಗಾಗಿ, ಮೊಗ್ಗಿನಿಂದ ಸುಂದರ ಹೂವಾಗಿ ಅರಳುವ ಮುನ್ನವೇ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಹೂಗಳು ಅನೇಕ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಂದ ಮೊಗ್ಗಿನ ಅವಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಹೂವಾಗಿ ಅರಳದೆ ಬಾಡಿ ಹೋಗುವುದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ನೋಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಮನಸ್ಸಿದ್ದರೆ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಾದೆಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದೆದ್ದು ಸುಂದರವಾಗಿ ಅರಳಿ ಅಂತ ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಮೊಗ್ಗುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಸರೆಯಾಗಿ ಮರಳಿ ಹೂಗಳಂತೆ ಅರಳಲು ದುಡಿಯುತ್ತಾ ಪ್ರಜ್ವಲಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಈ ಸುಂದರ ಹೂವೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪೂರ್ವ ಸುನೀತಾ. ಸುನೀತಾರವರೇ, ಬೃಂದಾವನದ ಇಂದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಹೃದಯಪೂರ್ವಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಸುನೀತಾರವರು ಭಾರತ ಮಾತ್ರವಲ್ಲದೆ ವಿದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಹೆಸರು ಗಳಿಸಿದವರು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ನಲ್ಲೂ ಅವರನ್ನು ಪರಿಚಯಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. Sunita ma'am, I was in awe reading through the resume and the news articles about you, as well as watching your interviews. I will try to list a few and would like you to elaborate on the rest, since she will do better justice to it. Speaking of justice, Miss Krishnan's relentless fight in the Supreme Court for nearly 2 decades resulted in the path-breaking direction to bring a comprehensive legislation to combat human trafficking in India. She has played an instrumental role in drafting several victim-centric policies, including the first ever anti-trafficking policy in India, policy for minimum standards of care, sex offenders registry, and introducing video conferencing to record evidence of a traffic victim. She's also responsible for bringing out comprehensive training manuals and handbooks for judicial officers, prosecuting officers, law enforcers, and other duty bearers on human trafficking. Recipient of the 4th highest Indian civilian honor, Padma Shri, and being recognized as one of the 150 fearless women in the world by Newsweek. Sunita has galvanized her vision by confronting traffickers, supporting survivors, and developing innovative models of prevention to disrupt the cycle of intergenerational exploitation. She has spearheaded the first ever survivor-led campaign, Swaraksha, against sex trafficking, which has reached out to over 1 million people. Since finding Prajwala with a unique purpose, Sunita has assisted in the rescue of more than 28,600 young girls and women across 12 countries, and has prevented 15,600 children from being sent into prostitution. And I'm sure the numbers are much more since the last time she sent this information. Sunita, hats off to you. We are here to hear more from you. Thank you for joining us from yet another special mission. We welcome you wholeheartedly to today's conversation. For our dear moderator for today, we have known her as an ever-smiling, friendly kid attending all the events as well as participating in the dance programs in Brindavana. Oh, by the way, she was her college's classical dance team president and captain also, speaking about dance over there. Graduated from the College of New Jersey with highest honors with a degree in history and minored in women and gender studies and international relations. I could not think of anyone else to moderate today's event. I felt very honored to speak about your honorable mention, Ms. Abhishta Tantri. Thank you for making the time to be here. Over to you.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. ಬೃಂದಾವನದವರಿಗೆ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಇನ್ವೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ, ನನಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸು. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ್ ಅವರೇ, ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮದು ವುಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಡೇ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸು. ಸೊ today's program, how we will structure this, Dr. Krishnan, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about your program, talk about the work you've done for a little bit, and then we'll shift to some questions on my end, and then we'll open up the floor for any of the audience that would like to ask questions to Dr. Krishnan. So, Dr. Krishnan, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಬಹಳ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇವತ್ತು to join you all. I have a very strong connection with Kannada Nadu. I studied in Bangalore, and in Bangalore, very coincidentally, Abhishta's mom, Usha, is a very dear friend from college, and I think all credit to Usha for getting me here and creating this platform for me. International Women's Day ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. For me, International Women's Day is very important for two reasons. One is to kind of, audit, to understand how far have we progressed, and two is to look behind and see how many more are still left behind. So it's a very, very important space for reviewing and reflecting what we are doing. This year, International Women's Day has a very special theme. We talk about inspiring inclusion. And my work has been with the most excluded human beings in our society. And for the last 30 years, I have been striving hard, committing my entire life to create a bridging space for these excluded human persons to have equal access to opportunity and rights in our mainstream society. So what am I doing, and what exactly is the nature of the mission that I do? I fight against one of the worst forms of human rights violation. One of the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, and one of the largest organized crime next to drugs and arms. That is human trafficking. And human trafficking in very, very lay terms means selling of human beings for the purposes of exploitation. That we have human beings who buy human beings and sell human beings with the only single one point purpose that they have to be exploited. They have to be, their vulnerability has to be completely taken advantage of so that the revenue of somebody is built. Now, human beings are bought and sold for various purposes. They could be bought and sold for labor exploitation. They could be bought for domestic servitude, for working in sweatshops. A whole world of different exploitative practices are there where human beings are bought and sold. And when you talk about human beings, we're not talking just about adults. Even a one-day baby can be bought and sold in the name of adoption and then resold for organ harvesting and organ trade and things like that. But one of the worst forms of human trafficking, within human trafficking also, there are different layers and tiers of, exploitation one looks at. One of the worst forms, I would say it because maybe I'm biased, but one of the worst forms is human beings being bought and sold for the purposes of prostitution or sexual exploitation. This, in my opinion, is the worst form, for the simple reason that in other forms of human trafficking, whether it is labor exploitation, whether it is beggary, whether it is domestic servitude, or any other forms of slavery like conditions. In fact, human trafficking is considered as a modern day form of slavery. You will see a very clear distinction between the victim and the exploiter. And you will see a very clear distinction in terms of identifying a victim. You can say, point out and say, this is the person who's a victim, and the victim also acknowledges and says, yes, I'm the victim, please save me, take me out of this space. But when we come to sexual exploitation, we are grappling with a very, very complicated situation. In this space of exploitation, you have a situation where the victim actually normalizes the experience of getting exploited, so much so that when you actually go for a rescue of this person, the victim will upfront ask you, who the hell are you trying to, why are you removing me from here? No, why the hell have you come here? And so you don't feel like a savior, you don't feel like a a rescuer, you actually feel like somebody who has done some kind of human rights violation. That is the complicated layer of human trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation. A revenue model that is built on this very tactic of getting the victim succumb into the pressure in such a way that she starts normalizing the experience of being exploited, and she starts believing that it is her fate or it is her destiny to be raped by, say, 10 or 15 men a day. Now, this is the world that I'm trying to change. This is the world that I'm trying to bring some kind of a new social order in things, because and I grapple with two major crises. The world of exploitation is one end where I'm trying to fight the exploiters and trying to remove the victims from that space. But another space is the world of you and me, the society, which has so many stereotypes, attitudes, perceptions, prejudices, which does not allow this person to get back into the situation. How bad it is, I don't think I need to tell you, each one of you, if you reflect within your own selves of what you think, what you perceive about prostitution, that will give you an insight on how bad or how deeply ingrained is our thought processes about such forms of exploitation. If I have to give you one example, I was speaking at a particular forum in Kolkata, addressing really big time business leaders, and all of them women leaders. And after the entire speech was over, and after the standing ovation was done, and everybody had done their bit in clapping and applauding me for whatever I was doing, there was this one woman who would not even get up. And then when everybody sat down, she just rushed towards the stage and took over the mic, and she started screaming. She said, if you rehabilitate all these women, what about my daughter? It took me a while for me to even think, what the hell is she talking? And then, it just kind of sunk into my brain that she's telling me that some women in this society have to be in prostitution so that her daughter is safe to walk around. This is the kind of attitude and perception that we have, so much so that we believe that prostitution is a necessary evil. It is an inevitable reality, and the world cannot do away with it. So much so that we believe that the men have so much of libido. It is overwhelming libido, and that has to be satisfied. And therefore, a class of women, class of human beings have to be there. But is it just the women who are in prostitution? I'm afraid no. The bigger demand in prostitution is not for an adult woman, it is for children. The youngest person that I have rescued from prostitution is 3 years old. Now, that is the age profile we are going on. Men will go to any extent. When I say men, let me be very, very clear, not broadly generalizing men as men. I'm saying buyers, customers, clients, Johns, as you call it in the United States. They would go to any extent to buy a child as young as, even 7 months old or 1 year old, because that's the kind of videos that you see now, which is available as what we call it as child sexually abusive material. So the world of commercial sexual exploitation and the world of human trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation is a murky world of both the mafia and our own thinking mafia that we carry, which becomes like a China wall, not allowing anybody who has already gone there to come back into the society. So I'm fighting a battle from both ends. And one of the reasons that I'm here today to talk to you all is you're part of the same world that I am in. You're part of the same thinking. You're part of the same attitude and perceptions. And therefore, when I'm here to engage with a conversation with you all, is also to challenge your thoughts, challenge your ideas, challenge your perceptions, and make you understand there is a different world out there. So what am I doing about it? What does my organization, Prajwala, do about it? So we started in 1996. And the first thing that we did, at that time, I had no clue how to go about doing things. So I did not come with a clarity of what I have today, 28 years later. Today, I have much clearer demonstration of what I do and how I do it. But way back then, 28 years back, I had no clue, what to do. So I started a small education program for children of women in prostitution. And that became a kind of a bridging ground for these children to be prepared for the mainstream world. Now, why are these children a little different from other children? They are different because they are brought up in an adult world, which is, highly exposed to sex and sexuality. Most of the children are right under the mother's bed when the mother is prostituting on top. And therefore, they see and learn things which is really beyond their age. If I have to give you one example, I had removed a 3.5-year-old child from a brothel, and very, very bright child, very brilliant child. And I thought it was good, good enough reason for me to put her in a residential school. And one day, I think in the school that she was studying, some visitors came to the hostel, and they made all the children sing some poems and songs. And obviously some prizes were given right after the poem was sung or whatever. So I don't know how it happened, but my child did not get the chocolate or whatever the gift was being given. And so she goes to the visitors and she says, "May I lift my frock? Will you give me the chocolate?" Now, this is what the child has seen. She's seen her mother lifting her sari every time a customer comes in, and she believes that's the way you get things, because if you lift the sari, then some money will be given to you. And she thought that is the way, and that's a kind of early childhood learning that the child is having, which becomes a kind of a block between this child and a normal child coming from a very normal background. And therefore, we felt there's a need for a bridging space to, kind of scholastically build them, pedagogically build them, but also, psychologically prepare them for the mainstream world. Today, we have removed more than 16,000 children out of these spaces. It's a kind of a second generation program. It's kind of breaking the chain of prostitution so that from the mother, it doesn't move on to the child. That's how Prajwala began. And when we started this work, I started having very mindful conversations with the women as mothers. And I started talking to them and understanding, when you are, on the street prostituting and you see a child as young as your own child is in the school right now with us, but a child as young as your own child comes and prostitutes with you, what do you feel? And that's when slowly some of the women started feeling very uncomfortable. And then they started coming out and they started saying, today we saw a 10-year-old child. So somewhere their conscience was awakened. Somewhere they felt compelled to speak up, but not all of them, only a few of them. And that's how the first rescues began. But at that time of my life, I was a very suspicious person. I had serious trust deficit. I did not believe in the state. I did not believe in the police. I did not believe in the criminal justice system. I believed that I was the one who had to do it all. I was the hero and I was everything. So I'm the savior. I'm everything. That is the, what do you say, Ontara, you live in a fool's paradise, right? You carry a perception which is so faulty, but that is what I believed in. So thanks to that kind of a belief, I kind of planned my own operations. I would go carry a few volunteers with me, actually go inside a brothel, pull out a child. So heavy duty James Bond activity, and very, very happy at that time, because then you get beaten up solidly. And I used to always think getting beaten up is some kind of a feather in, meaning, I don't think my Padma Shri gave me any kind of happiness as much as getting beaten up has given me that kind of happiness, because I used to think that getting beaten up means I'm on the right track and I'm doing it rightly. And I'm, all those of y'all who are working in companies or wherever you're working, that when you have a target, you also have verifiable indicators to know whether you're reaching your target or not. So for me, the verifiable indicator at that time was getting beaten up. So it was all good, and it was fantastic to live a very you build an image of yourself. It's like a Mragatrishna in your mind, that you're a big hero and you want to do it that way. I did it that way, and I would rescue a child, get thoroughly beaten up, go to the hospital, be there for a few weeks. So it was like one child at a time, maybe 4 or 5 children the entire year, because half the time you're either in the house, outside the hospital, or inside the hospital. That kind of a drama that went on. This whole foolish way that I did, I don't have any regrets. But when in retrospect, when I look back, it looks rather, I will not ask any youngster to attempt that kind of foolishness. But it ended the day one of my volunteers who was working with me got murdered right in front of me. And that's when I kind of started reflecting and reviewing the way I was doing things. And I kind of then took a call that this is not the way to do it. This is an organized crime. And if I have to fight this, I can't do it alone, and it doesn't work that way. And that's how I learned the hard way. My first lessons in building partnerships and collaborations. I started working with the police. My earlier perception of the police was they're all bad, they're all corrupt, they're all, hand in gloves, they are in cahoot with the traffickers and the criminals and everything. But when I started working with them, I realized it is not, it is a wrong perception. Not all of them are bad. There are bad ones, no doubt about it. There are good, fantastic ones too. And then there are fence sitters who are neither here nor there. So you work with the system, you sensitize the system, you engage, in a dialogue with them, tell them the realities that you're seeing, and you see a lot more people coming and joining the thing. Today, we have sensitized and trained more than 100,000 police officers across the country, and that became a game changer, because once you work in collaboration, the scale of your work changes, in a huge way. Because till that time, I would rescue only 4 or 5 children a year. But when I started working with the police, I could even rescue 200 girls in one go, in one shot. And that's when the entire dynamics of my work changed. And I had to then look at, what do we do with these human beings that we have, bringing them out of these brothels? Some are adults, some are children as young as 7, 8, adult women as old as 25, 30. And that's how I started evolving, um, safe spaces and safe homes. Today, we have the largest safe shelter, perhaps in the world. Uh, Not so very sure about that, but 100% sure that it's the largest in Asia. It can take care of more than 1,000 victims at any given point of time. And there is a special space for children. There's a special space for adults, and it's called as a therapeutic community. It's led by survivors. It's designed from a trauma informed approach, and it has got different layers of psychosocial intervention, which you know um, is designed in a manner that will uh, address the deep rooted trauma that the person has gone through. And what has this person gone through? This person has gone through multiple rapes every day for weeks and months and years together before we reach there to rescue her. Here is a person who's an alcoholic, who's a substance abuser, who's got all kinds of sexually transmitted infections, all kinds of reproductive tract infections. She is mentally unwell. She suffers from depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, everything, a range of mental health concerns. But she also could be suffering from what we call it as a Stockholm syndrome, where she is deeply attached to the exploiters and she believes they are her saviors and not us. So it's a completely very complicated person that you're bringing in who is resisting you all the way, and she is not with you, and therefore the effort of running a therapeutic community for victims of sex trafficking is something that you cannot even imagine. And that effort is a continuous effort, because we never know when a person completely heals. There are people who don't heal at all, but there are also people who heal very well. So with children, we created a different program in terms of education, providing them schooling, ensuring that they go back to mainstream schools. With adults, we tried vocational training, life skills, employability, employment training. So today, our children are doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, gym trainers, mass communication specialists, television camera, camera women, uh, pharmacists, uh, lawyers, all everything. With women, we have been able to see, we have trained them as welders, as carpenters, as bookbinders, as there are hundreds and thousands of women who have started their own businesses. They run fast food corners, they run vegetable shops, they run fruit shops, they run grocery shops, um, anything and everything. So if you provide them a space, where they have the access to opportunities, access to resources, a safe space where they can heal and come out of what they have, and a safe space where they can find themselves. They can get their own, because I don't believe anything has to come from out. It's all there within them. All that we are doing is trying to bring it out from inside them. So I don't believe in empowerment. I believe the power is already inside you. I believe in awakening the power from inside the person. So today we have over 29,000 women and girls removed from sex trafficking. And I can't say I'm successful in all the cases. I can only say that uh, more than 85% of them are today reintegrated. Thousands of them have been married. I have got them married. I'm grandmother to, at least I know of at least around 1,200 grandchildren that I have directly that I know of. I'm sure there are more, but I have not kept account of it. I've also failed in a good number of cases. It's not that we succeed in all the cases, and there are several instances where a person has gone back to the same space said that I'm okay in the same space of exploitation. I cannot live in this so-called safe space. I cannot handle the stigma. I cannot handle the perception of the society. I don't have the energy to fight. I just want to be there. Whatever left out of my life, just let me be there. That's something that we go through. All of what I have learned, what I have seen, what I have experienced has converted into our prevention program. So at one end, we prevent children from getting into the thing, children of women in prostitution, but also we have created and designed our own manuals and content for prevention in the community, awakening the community. Today, with technology coming into the story, it's not about that poor girl who gets trafficked and sold into prostitution. Any one of y'all who is on internet, who has a smartphone like this, is equally vulnerable. So today, our content for prevention is not just about those poor girls or the Dalits or the tribals. It's also the very, very well-educated girls, from colleges and schools who are on Facebook, who are on Insta, who are on Telegram, who are on social media and instant messaging apps, and to to tell how they can be groomed, how they can be emotionally manipulated and pushed into situation of exploitation. It's happening all over the US, not just in India. In fact, the prevalence of cyber-enabled human trafficking and especially sex trafficking in the United States of America is really a top. It's just growing leaps and bounds. India is not an exception too. So these contents are developed and we go to the community directly. We engage with the community directly in schools and colleges, in slums, in villages. But one of our greatest prevention campaign has been with engaging with men and boys, because I believe they are the demand for commercial sexual exploitation. And if we can change their attitude, and they're not people coming from planet Venus or planet Mars, they're all our brothers, sons, uncles, husbands, they're people around us. So even talking to them, engaging with them and having a conversation, say for something very simple like, consumption of porn, which is such a, mundane activity. But do they know that, when you consume porn, you're actually generating the demand for somebody somewhere out there to get sold for sexual exploitation? So these are the connects that we make. And a big USP of our prevention program is that it's the survivors who lead our programs. They are the content holders and they are the content generators. Having said that, another way that we have felt for more sustainable intervention is engaging in advocacy efforts, lobbying efforts with the government. Because I believe Prajwala, the organization that I founded, is just a laboratory where I am experimenting every day newer ways to tackle this problem, because the world believes this cannot be changed. I believe it can be changed. I believe this excluded group of individuals can be brought back. They can be given a space where they can feel, they can stand up with dignity. So I need to constantly experiment on that, newer ways of doing things. And as I'm experimenting, there's so much of lessons learned. And I believe that my greatest vision is the day I can close Prajwala. And because of that, I invest a lot of my energy and my time fighting with the government through all means, with the state government, with the central government, legally fighting with them from a policy level, fighting with them through media, fighting with them by engaging with wonderful human beings like you all, so that you become my ambassadors, you become my spokespersons, you speak this language, and then the world knows okay, now what we thought is not right, and we have to change our thinking. So advocacy is my life mission, because I believe that is something, that's a legacy that I can leave behind. Because if we can change policies, if we can change the legislation, that will live beyond your own, mortal life. So that's one of the things that Prajwala has done. And if today India has a cybercrime portal, it's thanks to Prajwala's efforts. Today, the country is looking at developing an anti-trafficking policy, anti-trafficking legislation. That's because of Prajwala's efforts. Today, if technological firms like Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Google, and everybody else is forced to become accountable for the content on their platform, it's because of Prajwala's efforts. So Prajwala is working from every end to tackle this program. And I believe each one of you all listening to me today is one champion more in this mission. So today, when I engage with you, I'm not so much expecting you to clap hands and applaud all the efforts that I'm making. I come here with my appeal, and I wouldn't say appeal, I would say my demand, that you become my partners in this mission, because I don't think I have started this problem. It's our problem, and if this has to change, all of us have to come together, and each one of us have to become champions as that. And today I believe that as I engage with you, and that you have taken out your time on a Sunday morning to engage in a very difficult and very delicate conversation like this, means that you are, somewhere in your heart committed to bring a world which is safe for all. And I think I'll just stop here, Abhishta, and open the floor for questions.
Of course, thank you. So to kind of start, one of the 5 pillars of your Institute, Prajwala, is reintegration. And you've talked about what that looks like, the kinds of jobs that you kind of integrate your women into going into. And then you've spoken about in the past that you have found that your girls are very good at male-dominated fields like welding, masonry, carpentry, maybe as opposed to more traditional fields for India, like computers. Can you talk more about that and kind of your thoughts on that?
So, Abhisha, that whole thing came with, I'm a trained mental health professional, and I was looking for everything that I do, I look for mental health in that space. And one of the things, when I was looking at vocational training and employment generation, I felt if the training by itself is empowering in such a way that it heals you, because when a woman indulges in a male dominated skill, and she gains mastery over that skill, she you must understand where I come from. I come from a space where this human being is completely excluded from the world. The world looks at her as a characterless person. World looks at her as a moralless person, as somebody who does not deserve to come back to the society. So you're the fallen person, So it is in this context that we are developing a vocational training program. And so I had to think about what is that one thing that will become a kind of a, will play the X factor, when you do it and you realize that you're not just better than normal women, you're even better than the men around you, So the vocational training not only gives you access to better income, because these are all very skilled trade. And there's always, if you come to India, you will know it. And not only India, even the United States, it's like that. A plumber, a welder, a carpenter, these are all skilled trades, And if somebody masters over it, then you're known as a trade, you're known from your trade and not from which background you came from. You're a good welder, you're a good carpenter. So, it's a combination of several factors that made me think that this could be one way out. It's another thing that our girls, just loved the idea and took. They never, felt, when if you talk to a normal girl, ask her to get into, even say cab driving, or or welding or something like that, they will have some 100 hang-ups. Our girls never had any of those hang-ups. And so say, yeah, we'll do it. And today, it has become a model and best practice of its own. In fact, the vocational training center that we have established, Government of India looked at the model and said, we should make it as an industrial training institute. So today we have the first ever industrial training institute for survivors of sex trafficking run by Prajwala, an ITI.
That's really awesome. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So kind of looking at it from a more global perspective, since we have such a geographic separation between us. So in the work that you've done globally, in the work that you've seen done globally, what are some similarities that you see in terms of trafficking across the globe? And then what are some aspects of trafficking that are more unique or particular to India?
So human trafficking is global. It's there in over 132 countries, from the United States of America to India. No country is an exception. Human trafficking predates on vulnerability. So every country, while the trafficking per se is uniform across the world, it is a criminal enterprise. There's a lot of revenue generated. There's a whole lot of things. All these are the uniformity across the world. What is different is in each country, the scale of vulnerability, of what makes you vulnerable, is different. In a country like the United States, maybe a broken family will make you vulnerable, But in a country like India, being a Dalit or coming from, a community that is excluded socially would make you more vulnerable, So what is different in different countries is the vulnerability parameters. So in our country, religion can make you vulnerable. Caste can make you vulnerable. Gender can make you vulnerable. Economic strata can make you vulnerable. Whereas in the United States, it could be, a whole system of not having a family, single parents, early, young teenagers becoming pregnant, or, different kinds of vulnerability happening. But India, it is far, far more convoluted because of the intersection of caste, class, religion, culture, So it becomes a little more, kind of more and more complicated because then you can't say, when in India, if I had to look at, okay, when I rescue a girl, can she go back to her village? There will be a whole lot of villagers who will say, no, we don't want this girl back. She's fallen, so you go barbecue. So that kind of a vulnerability is very unique to a particular culture, and that is what is unique about our country. So every different countries has a different thing. In Africa, you will see different sets of vulnerability factors. But what remains common across the world is the fact that it is a criminal enterprise. It is a fast growing, revenue generating criminal enterprise. There are people, men and women, who live on this kind of form of exploitation. And what is uniform across the world, irrespective where they are, is what the victim goes through, right? What she goes through inside her, the pain, the shame, when I say sex traffic, I mean, in one line, it's a person whose body, mind, and soul is completely crushed. And that is uniform across the world.
Right.
United States, Europe, India, everywhere.
And speaking of vulnerability, you kind of have this, we have this culture of silence, and kind of the shame that comes for so many of these women become then a major mental health barrier for them to reintegrate into society. And you've talked about the dangers of this culture of silence. So how do you think that silence is this kind of dangerous thing for sex trafficking? And then what can we do within our society to kind of bridge that gap, more than just, talking about it, more than just frequently advocating?
So, Abhisha, I don't think we should go to sex trafficking so much. Let's leave that on one side. Let's talk about sexual abuse. When you're silent about abuse, whether it's sex trafficking is the worst version of it. Let's put that on one side. When we are silent about sexual abuse within our own families, and all our families, we have examples, each one of us, and it happens in close, safe zones. When we remain silent, what are we doing? We are creating an enabling environment for the perpetrator to live and do what he wants with impunity. We remain silent in the name of honor, in the name of shame, in the name of family, prestige, and so many blah, 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 blah. But what are we doing by this silence? We are actually becoming a part of the problem, because thanks to our silence, one more perpetrator gets that confidence that if I can do what I can do inside my house, okay, and get away with it, I can do it with anybody else outside, And therefore, when we talk about silence, we need to talk about silence in our own families, with our own selves, Do we have a safe space in our own families to talk about the abuse that we have gone through? Whether it is molestation, whether it is sexual harassment of any kind? Do we have a safe space within our own families where boys and girls engage with parents, talk, openly about, say, even porn consumption? Do we do those kind of things? No. So what are we doing? We are putting it on sly. So everything, when you put it on sly, people find different ways of getting to that point, which means that parallelly, there is a kind of an environment which is very, very conducive for perpetrators to function, because this is like a parallel world that we are creating and that is what silence does. Silence creates a parallel world of impunity. With silence also comes something else, tolerance. All of us start tolerating sexual abuse, sexual violence. It's just a story. Oh my God, Nirbhaya happened. Oh God, India has become so unsafe, as if United States of America is very safe. It is not. We find, excuses to kind of sensationalize something and make it, like a very big, oh my God, oh my God. And then you feel, okay, everything is done. Will you do that when it happens in your own house? Will you go report and, point out and, clearly show this is the person who did this to me? No. At that time, you clamp up, And when you clamp up, what you do is you also start looking at all these stories. Oh my God, how bad this is, and then move on. Now, I give you one example. I also became a film producer. I don't know any of you know about it or not. I also produce feature films. So one of the feature films that I produced was Na Bangaru Tarli, which is on Disney Hotstar right now. It's on sex trafficking. I have hundreds of my so-called fans, Abhimanilu, who have told me, oh God, ma'am, we didn't have the guts to go and watch this in the movie theater. Okay, now what are you doing? Something is made to break the silence on this issue. You will not even go near it. But you have no problem going and watching Animal. That doesn't create any sorts of revulsion in you. That absolutely sexist and one of the most demeaning films for a woman and her body is making crores and crores. you know uh, I don't know how many billions of crores that they have made, but a movie that is made, a well-made film, because it's won enough in national awards, it's won enough international awards, but we will not watch it, you know, because I don't know, I can't see such stuff.
Right.
If you don't see such stuff, do you think it's going away? No, it's there. We have to stand, address it, confront it, challenge it, and do our bit to change it. And one way of doing it is breaking the silence.
Right, absolutely. It's not enough to just have these views, to, hold these values close to ourselves. We also need to make sure that we are, showing other people we are taking those steps publicly to that gap. Yeah, absolutely. So kind of in line with what we're talking about, I wanted to draw attention to, social media and how you use social media. Specifically, you have one of your most popular hashtags is #ShameTheRapist. So along those lines, like, how has social media been a tool for you and Prajwala in combating ignorance? And then in the same way, how do you kind of deal with the difficulties that come with, social media, all the ignorance online, all the trolling online?
So I use social media as a tool to break the silence. I use social media to tell what I want to say to the world. And unfortunately, I am a um, very arrogant human being. Upfront, I only come to say what I have to say and I move off. So I really am not bothered who's trolling me or who's doing what to me. I'm just not bothered. I'm not coming here to make friends. I'm coming here to say something. I'm coming here to challenge the world about several things. Shame the Rapist campaign was one such campaign where upfront, you challenge the idea of not protecting a rapist, exposing that person, because we talk about Nirbhayas and Dishas and all of those. We never talk about that Mohans and that fellows. Do you even know the names of the rapists who have raped whoever that person? That person is always unknown. So, showing a mirror to the world is the way I use social media. Um, I don't know whether I've used it effectively, but I think I strive my level best to use this as a medium and not attach any emotions to this. So when I don't see, the problem comes when you start identifying yourself with the likes and comments and all the rest of it. I don't. I'm least bothered whether I get somebody to read my comment or not. But I'm very, very bothered that I have to say what I have to say, and then move it. So we've used social media to talk about the cause, to connect with like-minded people across the world who believe in this cause, to connect with people and perhaps create a kind of provide them an access to an opportunity to become part of the mission, to become part of doing things. And a good part of my problems are sorted out on social media sometimes. Meaning I've not had a single appeal that I've made on social media go wasted. Every time, if it is a girl's getting married and I have short of cash, I say, problem. And immediately there are hundreds and thousands of people. So for me, social media is acts of in two ways. One, as a medium for me to tell the world what I have to say, but also for me personally as a kind of reinforcement and reassurance that there are a lot of good people on this earth. And I might not see them every day in my work, because there I only choose to see the criminals. But outside, there is a world which has beautiful human beings like you all, who want to know about this problem, who want to get sensitized, who want to get awakened. These are not easy topics to talk about. ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ನಿಮ್ ಬ್ರೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇದೆಷ್ಟು ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯುನೋ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ರಿಯಾಲಿಟಿ, ಬಟ್ ಯು ಚೋಸ್ ದಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್. ಎಷ್ಟು ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐ ನೋ all of you all must have done some amount of Google search about Sunita Krishnan before you came in. So, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕಾಮಿಡಿ ವಿಟ್ಟಿ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತು. But you chose to be disturbed, which for me is the greatest strength that I'm carrying today, because I know there is, I don't know how many people are watching this at this moment. I have no clue. But there are 30 people right here on this webinar, and I don't know, there are maybe many more watching on Facebook and things like that. That many number of sensitive souls I'm getting connected to. So social media is for me also a reinforcement of the good people on the earth, the good people who will bring a safe world, good people who believe that a safe world is possible. That's what social media is for me.
Absolutely. Thank you. I feel like that's a really good positive way to end, our section of this chat. If we would like to move into the comments, the kind of Q&A section, we'll start with this question from Krish SK. He says, do you and your organization come under political pressure, and how do you handle it if politicians start putting their pressure, if at all?
That's a day-to-day existence. When you talk about an organized crime, when you talk about a criminal enterprise, obviously there are different people involved, and politicians are one segment too, like so many other segments. Definitely there's constant pressure from different quarters. Many a times, I feel today, because of this Padma Shri and everything, I have become something like a poison that people can't swallow, cannot spit. I'm stuck. Nilakanta. That is how we are tolerated. But there is constant pressure. There's constant pressure. And constant pressure on trying to obstruct our work, create a situation where we don't get any support. We have been evicted twice in our life, and I put in all my effort. I can't even tell you how much, to get 1 centimeter of land from the government. But no, I was not given anything. I was forced to buy land, forced to. So the only good thing about this whole story is that every obstacle that I face from, not just from the politicians, but from every quarter, I look at it as an opportunity for me. I look at it as a positive outcome of my work, and which helps me look at the world which will support me. So thanks to the world that supports me, I have not been crushed. I have not been, ಎಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡಿ ಚಕಾರ್ ಯಾರು ಹಾಕ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, because there's a world of truth, there's a world of goodness from the universe that supports you. That's the only way that I have handled them. I don't have any special magical thing. See, people try to hurt you when they know you can get scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of getting killed. I'm not scared if you're going to close my organization. I'm not scared if you call me a brothel keeper tomorrow or get people to write about me in horrible ways, even in international media, I am not scared of all this. So do what you want. You know, I have become a better person thanks to everything that has been done to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. For our next question, and again, if anybody has questions and they're on the Zoom, feel free to put it into the meeting chat where I can read it. Veena Mohanoru, they have said, extremely happy to be part of this. Any thoughts on the perpetrator's mental health issues, which could be the reason too, as in my work, I see this end?
Absolutely. While we don't work with perpetrators, we do have a very special program where we have a very special counseling program only for the Johns or the customers or the buyers. It's called as Vikalp. And it is one small segment of the perpetrator. So because the perpetrator are many people, the person who spots the person who transports the person who keeps the person who exploits this person and makes money out of it. So the buyer is just one segment of the various layers of perpetrators. We have actually worked with buyers with great results, with excellent results, and especially when we are able to tell them the connectivity between their actions and what it is doing to another human being. That is one, you know, when things start changing for them. And there are several of them who are severely mentally, you know, there are a good number of them that we have seen who were, you know, sexually abused as children and now today become an abuser or a buyer because it's kind of a sublimation of their own trauma. Uh, are that part of our work? I wouldn't say we have developed that body of work in a big way, but the small intervention that we do, and every year we work with around more than 1,800 buyers. It's been a very significant results. In fact, there are certain areas in Hyderabad which we have kind of cleaned completely. No buyer comes there because the regular buyers have actually transformed. So we've had such situations, but I have never worked with, say, a brothel keeper, a pimp. You know, I've never had an opportunity to do that. Yes.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah. So next question, no, Prasanna Kumar Orinda. He says, is educating the kids in public schools at an early age, middle or high school, about the dangers of this, would that help? And then he also said he's very glad that you made a movie about this, but can a national channel like Doordarshan make it reach the population who are vulnerable?
Prasanna, everybody is vulnerable. So Doordarshan inda Disney Hotstar ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ಇದೆ, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿ. It's called as Na Bangaru Talli, and definitely Doordarshan ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ it will be fantastic, no doubt about it, but it's still available on OTT platforms so for people to see it. Definitely every child in public school, private school, every school. So right now I'm on a mission to understand how technology is enabling human trafficking, and I'm seeing the bulk of victims are coming from very, very good middle class families, you know, and therefore the education system, kids, from I would say from the time that you give a mobile phone in their hand, from that time onwards you start the education, you know, so whatever is that age, you know, and because technology by itself is also potentially becoming a great tool to reach to vulnerable population by the perpetrators, and it can happen through Insta, it can happen through FB, it can happen through several things, through gaming apps, online gaming apps. It can happen through several. In fact, right now we're dealing with a case where a young girl, 12 years, coming from a very interesting, you know, international school, who has been lured from an online gaming app called as Ludo, you know. And another case that we have is this young person, 13-year-old girl, who was groomed and manipulated to run away through a gaming app. I'm not very familiar with that gaming app. It's called as Truth or Dare. And through that, so anybody is vulnerable, Prasanna. So ellarge now sensitization kottidre ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. But definitely different segments ಗೆ different type of content ನಾವು create ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಕಾಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, you know. So our content development ತುಂಬಾ important, and that is where domain experts like people like me and people like me across the world who are working on this space become very important, because then we tell you ki okay, on the international school makkalandre avrige ಯಾವ ತರ content ನಾವು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, it's a government school ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ತರ you know content ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. So different kinds of things can happen in different places. Yeah.
Prasanna uncle, if you want to, I see you have your hand up. If you want to unmute and speak, yeah.
Namaskara, Sunita Krishnan avare. It's hard to not to comment and applaud for what you have been doing. And after listening to last one hour, a lot of things were really eye-openers for us. At least being here, we do not know what's happening at that time. And ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೈಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ. Why I said these two comments? One, ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿರೋ movie to reach people who are more vulnerable. I'm not saying higher class ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ. ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, at least people in the upper middle class and higher class, the parents would themselves would have instructed or told their kids about these things. But it's in the, I would say, lower middle class or poor people who normally go to public schools. They are more vulnerable for this. I mean, this is what my understanding is. So
I beg to differ,
really?
Prasanna avare. Yakendre, you know, what we see at least here in India and perhaps in the United States too might be common. Parents are all professionals. They're so caught up in their own lives. Everybody is constantly busy on their mobile phones, and engaging with their children has becoming a lesser and lesser priority. That's what we are seeing in India. And that conversation, that dialogue is not happening. And somewhere kids and all are getting away from nama samskara, nama value system. Everything is getting cut off. They live in a virtual world, which is, and everybody is like, you know, that virtual world is real for them. Kelgade, inno solpa, you know, actually it is better. There is at least some amount of acceptance. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆರೋಗ್ಯನ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತು, ಕೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಏನೋ ಐ ಆಮ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ ಡೀಲಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಕೇಸ್. ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಅವರೇ, ಫಾದರು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರು, ಮದರ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್. ಹುಡುಗಿ ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೋ ಹತ್ರ 12-13 year old ಗರ್ಲ್ ಯಾರೋ ಹತ್ರ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಶಿಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಆಯ್ತು. ದ ಪ್ರೊಫೈಲ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಲೇಡಿ. ಸೊ ಹುಡುಗಿಗೆ ಏನು ಫಿಯರ್ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ. She took this person as an elderly person and ಅವಳ ಹತ್ರ ತುಂಬಾ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿ, ನನ್ಗೆ ಅಕ್ಕ ನನ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಬೇಜಾರಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನನ್ನ ಬಾಡಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ನನ್ನ ಗೇಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ದೇ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಿ ಗೂಸ್ಬೆರಿ, ಆಮ್ಲಾ, ಆ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ಲೇಡಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೈಲ್ ಸಪೋಸಿಡ್ಲಿ ಲೇಡಿ, ಈಗ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಹುಡುಗಿನ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟೋರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, told her to put on the webcam. ನಾನು ನಿನ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಕರಿ, you know, I will teach you exercises to improve your body size. And for the next 6 weeks, she was made to disrobe and made to masturbate on camera. Coming from a fantastic upper middle class family. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಯ್ತು, 6 weeks ಇದು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Video is getting recorded every day. 6th week ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಕಸಿನ್ ಬ್ರದರ್ ಏದೋ ಒಂದು ಪೋರ್ನ್ ಸೈಟ್ ಬ್ರೌಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಅವನ್ಗೆ ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಆಗ ಈ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಆಚೆ ಬಂತು. The girl now refuses to come out of the room. The parents have everything under the sun in their hand. The parents are refusing to report the case. Report ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ how am I supposed to find out who the bloody hell this profile person is? Okay? ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಎಂತ? ಈಗ ನಾವು ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಹುಡುಗಿ ಅವಸ್ಥೆ ಎಂತ? She is refusing to come out of the room. And she says, Auntie, can you promise me that this content is destroyed completely? ನಾನು ಯಾವ ತರ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? Cannot be destroyed. Yeah. Nobody in this world can destroy that content. Anybody can, download it and keep it in your, pen drive or a hard disk, or keep it in your laptop. So vulnerability, ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, everybody is vulnerable, but each to their own. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಹೈದರಾಬಾದಲ್ಲಿ definitely I go only to the lowest. I go to the government schools. I go because I want to reach that segment. That's my segment.
Right.
At the same time, I also engage with frontliners, first responders, like a high school teacher, from coming from other places. Says, I can't come to your school and speak. Because nandu speech kododu nan kelsa alla. Nan kelsa rescue ಮಾಡೋದು. ನನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸ ಇಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಸೊ training the first responders. So what I would say is, please take away from your brain that they are more vulnerable than we. If you have a young person in your family, you are as vulnerable as that child. ಅದರಿಂದ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನೇನು knowledge ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ, you will convert it into what you have to speak to youngsters in your own families. Whether it is on mobile safety, whether it is on online safety, whether it is about boundaries in life, whether it is where do you say no, how do you say no, what do you consume, what are the harmful things that you should not consume, ಈ ತರ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಡೇ, ಎವ್ರಿ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ 50% of the problem is sorted.
It's becoming more and more difficult with all this social media and everything coming up, Facebook or WhatsApp. It's becoming more and more difficult for everybody to control this. But you are doing a commendable job, and we need more of such people, Sunita.
Thank you.
Thank you for this eye-opening, lecture, information sharing. Like you said, it happens all over the world. I saw a movie called Sound of Freedom. I think you must also have seen that.
Yeah.
On Amazon Prime.
Yes,
it's hard. It's kind of, it really hurts how people are being taken, how kids are being taken, innocent kids. It's really hard. So I wish you all the best, and create awareness amongst all of us. And even if you get one person who can assist you in doing anything, that is nothing like that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Avishta, can I just answer the questions that I see on the chat box? Is that
yes? Like in YouTube, Facebook, we'll just direct it this way. But whatever you can read,
whatever works.
So Usha Garu, Usha Avre, you have asked about talking to boys and girls, and boys especially. Definitely, I believe if safety of women has to be spoken, we have to speak only to the men and boys. If the attitude of men and boys can change, which means our own attitude has to change, which means also that blue is for boys and pink is for girls has to change. So when we have conversations we need to have conversation with boys and girls, and if we can change the attitude, our own attitude, and create open platforms for our children to speak with us, I think a lot of change can happen there. Sexualizing women in movies, we are the consumers, we are the buyers. If we don't want those kind of movies, we should not entertain those kind of movies. and I say that as a movie producer. And I say that with a lot of pain, because good movies where a woman's dignity is upheld does not sell, because you will not buy the ticket to go and watch it in the theaters. So I would want, you know, uh, somebody who has written about sexualizing women in movies, you know, become our champions to support good films, good films that upholds dignity of human being, men or women, upholds values, upholds morality. ಆ ತರ ಮೂವಿಗೆ ಟಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿ, ಆ ತರ ಮೂವೀಸ್ ನ ಹಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆನಿಮಲ್ ತರ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ ನ ನೀವು ಹಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, what you're creating is, a culture that sexualizes, demeans, vilifies, stigmatizes a person. Veena does not know how to put her hands up to speak. Veena, I'm just first going to answer everything, and then you can put your hands up. Vidya, yeah, Vidya, we do see boys and young men trafficked. I'm just, for sex trafficking, we see a lot of young boys being castrated and forced as transgenders. That's something that we have seen. We have also seen young boys in sex tourism. I have not done much of rescues of boys. It's been something that has bothered me, but then I can't do everything, so I am my hands are kind of caught. I rescue around 60 women and girls every month, which itself is my entire 24/7 goes in that only. But yes, boys also get trafficked, mostly for labor exploitation and several other forms of trafficking, but also in sexual exploitation. Especially sex tourism is about boys. Whether anywhere in the world you go, in Thailand or Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, the larger percentage of children available for tourists are boys. And sex tourism is largely dominated by boys. I haven't done much rescue there, but yeah. Yes, victims come from all sections of the society. So do perpetrators. Lakshmi, yes to that answer. Fear of God, yes. More than fear of God, I don't know, values, morality, namasamskara. From the right perspective, our samskara itself is a very confused matter. But bringing that sense of conscience inside you, ಏನನ್ನ ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂಥರ ಭಯ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಅರೆ, ಒಂದು ಒಂದು ಮೂಡ್ಸ್, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅ 3-year-old ಚೈಲ್ಡ್, ನಾನು ಈ 3-year-old ಚೈಲ್ಡ್ನ ಯಾವ ತರ ನಾನು ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಒಂಥರ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್, ಅದು ಆ ತರ kind of education is what, which understands what's right and wrong, what is acceptable and not acceptable, what is harmful and what is not harmful. That's the kind of education that we need to, and what is consent, those are the kind of education that we need to build in, not this upar ka dikhawa kind of, today all this God bhakti alla untara nataka, to kind of get over your guilt. So Lord Chimyananda said, Sri Chimyananda is a great soul. He said, only the wicked and the evil go to Swamiji's, So largely, to mean to say people who have more guilt, they are the ones who are going to Swamiji's. Religion is becoming a place for too much of shushabaji. But, spirituality, coming in touch with yourself, your soul, and connecting with that inner conscience of yours, awakening that inner conscience of yours, and bringing that sense of no harm to either me or to any other human being, to the world around me, to the universe around me. ಆ ಒಂಥರ ಕಾನ್ಷಿಯಸ್ನೆಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬರೋ education models now. So I've answered practically all the questions that is there on the chat. If there are any other questions, please.
Ragini Aunty avare, if you want to.
Oh, thank you. Sunita avare, it's a very good session, and you really spoke about a lot of things we were not aware of. Most of us things we live in our own world. It's very hard for us to understand what's happening. Most of us are sheltered, unfortunately. Never realize how hard it is for the people who go through and people who are trying to rescue them or helping them. Do you think you have gotten the support from the society after you rescue these girls to I'm sorry, my husband is like I'm baking something, sorry about that. I lost my chain of thought. Okay, do you get this support for the women or the girls you rescued from the society for them to be reformed and bring it back to the society?
Yes and no. It's a constant struggle. There are people who downright reject, and there are people who support. And it's because of those people who support, there are thousands of them who have gone back to the society. But it is a constant battle. And definitely things are changing. Definitely there are more people now willing to listen, at least, to these matters. But we've not reached a stage where everything is hunky-dory. So it's a constant battle. But, you know, whatever we are today, wherever we are reached today, is because there is a changed society too. A society that believes, okay, this is a cause, you know, that we need to listen to. A society which says, okay, I'll give a job to this girl. A society which says, okay, I'll give donation so that this work does not stop. Maybe 100 people are beating her up, but I will make sure that I'm supporting her so that she doesn't crush and crumble. So support comes from different ways, you know. Even keep the fact that we are still here after 28 years shows that, you know, there is a changing.
Is there a decriminalization? Did they do a prostitution as decriminalization? Just they prosecute women who get caught, or it is kind of still they do put the women in jail just because they were actually the victim, not the one who is causing the societal unrest as a becoming a prostitute?
Yeah. In India, the victims are not put in the jail now. They're treated as victims and put in a safe home.
Say it again, please. I lost you.
In India, victims are not put in the jail. They are put in a safe home so that they can, yeah, they're put in a safe. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I would have just about another 5 minutes. And somebody asked about a sex offenders list. Yes, in India, we have a sex offenders list, which is not public. It is there with the government of India. They're holding it like, you know, some very safe document that they are holding on. I've been fighting for the last 15 years to have a sex offenders registry, the way you have in the United States, but no takers as of now.
I know that there is one question left, but Dr. Krishnan, I know it's getting very late for you. So if we could actually shift to Archana Aunty, if you want to take over from here.
So I just want to say something, Sunita, okay? Is it like, you know, do you have any channel where people can donate and be a part of it?
Yes,
we'll
my
provide that
website is
information
there.
also, Sandhya.
It's www.prajwalaindia.com. That's our website. We are also registered on the Give India portal, but look out for Prajwala, Society for Poor and Deprived. But our website is the best way to go about it.
Sandhya, that was supposed to be a surprise reveal. Towards the end, we were supposed to say that's
I'm
supposed to be
sorry.
a charity, Brindavana charity.
Oh, sorry, I spoiled it, but
No,
that's a
no, that's
wonderful
okay. No,
cause.
I am so glad that you reached out. So this
Yeah.
means this topic was just an awesome Sunday morning discussion. ಇವತ್ತಂತೂ ಅದು I just have to say, just simply wow.
Sunday has to pay double now.
Sunita Ravre, you believed you could, so you did. I mean, it's such a noble cause. It takes courage, and we know courage is the prize that life extracts. But despite all the roadblock, hurricane, rainstorm, everything, you proved that you should never let your fears prevent you from focusing on the ultimate goal. You showed so many people all the rainbow colors, like I said, right after the storm, the path to rehabilitation. And every woman's success should be an inspiration to all of us. So we are strongest when we cheer each other's on. So here's to you and everyone who has made such a difference in so many lives. Yeah, so you gave us so many take-home points for us, so much to ponder about also. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. Thank you for enlightening us with the endless possibilities to help out. As a gratitude gesture, here it is, Sandhya. We at Brindavana would like to adopt Prajwala Foundation for our charity initiative this month. I know you're very goal-oriented and hence won't usually have the time to spend everywhere else, but thank you for having set some time.
Thank Usha. Thank Usha.
Correct.
Usha
That's the next
is the person
Correct.
behind this. Yeah.
ಕಳೆದ ವರ್ಷನೇ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನೋ ಒಂದಂತೇಳಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ವಾಸ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಅನ್ ವುಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಡೇ ಟಾಪಿಕ್, ಒಂದು ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಉಷಾ ಬಸ್ರು ಅವ್ರು ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ ಸರಿಯೇ, ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾದರೂ ಕೀರ್ತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿರುವ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಸುನೀತಾರವರನ್ನ ಬೃಂದಾವನಕ್ಕೆ ಕರೆಸಿದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮಾರರೆ. ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ಅಭಿಷ್ಟ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಿಕ್ಕಂದ, ಯು ರಾಕ್. Special thanks to you for so beautifully helping all of us navigating through today's program. Very well articulated. ಇನ್ನು ಬೃಂದಾವನ ಬಂಧು ಬಾಂಧವರಿಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ, ಇವತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಿದ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರಿಗೂ ಅವರ ಜೊತೆ, ಓಕೆ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಫೀಲ್ ಅಫೆಂಡೆಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್, ಅವರ ಜೊತೆ ಪ್ರೋತ್ಸಾಹಿಸಿದ ಮಾನಿಯರಿಗೂ ಯುವ ಬೃಂದಾವನದವರಿಗೂ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. I know that ನನ್ನ ಮಗನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ he is joined in also. I see lot of other Yuva also has joined on Facebook, I mean YouTube, Facebook ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ, ಸಾರಿ. ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಕೆಲಸದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತೊಡಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನವೂ ಮಹಿಳಾ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಎಂದು ಆಶಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಡಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತೆರೆಮರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೆಲಸ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಪೂರ್ವ ತಂಡದ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಝೂಮ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಸಂತೋಷ್ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್, ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಲೈವ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಉಮೇಶ್ ರಾಜೇಗೌಡ, ಬೃಂದಾವನ ಸುದ್ದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಅನಿಲ್ ಭಾರದ್ವಾಜ್, ಪೋಸ್ಟರ್, ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಿರುವ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ರೋಹಿಣಿ ಮಹೇಶ್, ಶ್ರೀ ಸತ್ಯನಾರಾಯಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣಮೂರ್ತಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಅಪೂರ್ವ ತಂಡದ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರ ಮನೆಯವರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸಲು ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. Have a very happy day, everyone, every day. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Thank you so much. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. I love talking to you all. ತುಂಬಾ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. It's been ages since I practiced a little bit of my Kannada. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಚಾನ್ಸ್ ಸಿಕ್ತು. Thank you so much. I'm so proud to talk to you all and engage with you all. And I hope each one of you all will become my champions.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Apoorva and Sunita. Awesome. ದೇವ್ರು ನಿಮಗೆ ಆಯುಸು ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಸದಾ ನಿಮ್ ಬೆನ್ನಿಂದೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಕಾಪಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ನ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಆಶಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮಾ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ವಿ ಲಾಗ್ ಆಫ್, ಎಲ್ರು ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು, ನಿಮ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಂದರ ಸಂಡೇ ಮುಖಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡುವ ಅಂತ.
ಅದೊಂದ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ ಏನ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕೇಳಮ್ಮ.
ಅಯ್ಯ ಏನು ಉಷಾ ನೀವು, ನಿಮ್ದು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ BGM. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. ಚೈತ್ರ, ಮೋಹನ್, ವಿದ್ಯಾ, ಹೇಮಾ, ರಶ್ಮಿ, ಶ್ವೇತಾ, VZG, JCN, whatever. ವೀಣಾ ಮೋಹನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಸ್ಮಿತಾ, ಶ್ವೇತಾ, ಆರತಿ.
The Sunday morning, Archana. ಅವರು ಏನ್ ಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಸಂಡೇ ಅಂತ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಎನ್ಲೈಟನ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಸೂಪರ್ ಸುನೀತಾ ಅಂತ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಸೆಷನ್. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ತುಂಬಾ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್.
ಗುಡ್ ಲಕ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ಈ ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರಿ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಸುನೀತಾ ಅವರೇ, ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಎನ್ಲೈಟ್ನಿಂಗ್. ನಾವು ಪ್ರಿವಿಲೇಜ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ ದೇರ್, and you made us aware that it's not just downtrodden. Even ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಮಗ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ what they might be going through. You made us aware of that, so that we'll at least take care of our children ಅಂತ. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸುನೀತಾ ಅವರೇ, ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯ್ತು. Thank you for answering our questions. It's really an eye-opening event, because I do work with the similar situation, but them as perpetrators or victims or their families, educating them, counseling them, and their discharge. We work with Megan's Law here.
Yeah.
And and then we work with group homes to situate them and to provide through the government. But the mental health issues are so big behind all this.
Absolutely.
I feel, it's the parents who sell the children.
True.
Their mental health on the behalf of victims and perpetrators, everyone's mental health issues. But really, we are honored to hear you. We are honored to meet with you. We thank Brindavana for this beautiful Sunday morning event. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thanks, Sunita.
Thank you, Usha. Thank you. So may I leave? Thank you.
Thank you.